Hello everybody, welcome you on my YouTube channel, and in this presentation I would like to talk about the topic of 5 basic stages of spiritual growth and development. And I had an idea to use the pentagram from the traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, where I will work with the concept, or we can say with the elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So during this lecture, I will try to explain my idea, how can we use these 5 elements to describe spiritual growth and development in human beings. You only view it as a kind of idea or concept how this pentagram can be used. Those of you who are working or are familiar with Chinese medicine, so you probably know the concept of so-called 5 elements. And these 5 elements are wood, in Chinese language is mu, the green one. Then we have fire, 火, the red one. Then there is earth, 土. The color is like a yellow one. Metal, 金, the gray one. And water, 水. There is the blue one, or often there is kind of the black color, and the metal is sometimes a white color. And I will use also some Czech words like which are here, so don't be confused by this. This is a Czech language only. If you would like to know more about the 5 elements theory, you can also watch some other videos from the playlist, which is named Chinese Medicine, or Jungi in Chinese, or Čínská medicína in Czech language. But those videos are mostly only in Czech language. But you can also scroll down and you will find an electronic version in PDF mostly to understand better about individual topic from TCM. So here we have Chinese characters, left side Wu and right side Xing. So if we join together these two characters, we will find a word, Chinese word, which is describing 5 elements. Wu in Chinese language means 5. And the character on the right side we can read as Xing. And this character actually has two readings, like one is Xing and another one is Hang. But in this word and in this context, this character is pronounced Xing, and it means literally to go or to walk. Of course, there are more meanings, but this is the meaning which we need here in this translation. And because in the English language, the word elements is commonly used, and if we want to be more precise, maybe, so in Czech language, we have a new word. We sometimes say elements, like elementy or prvky, but also there is a new word we use like hybatel, that means movers. 5 movers, because the actual elements, which I described on the previous slide, they are kind of moving or transforming or shifting their qualities, or their cycle of birth, cycle of which is going opposite to the birds, and so on and so on. So maybe that's only idea that sometimes we can call them also movers. And we will start with the first element, or the mover, which is wood. Here you can see a Chinese character for wood, and I used a name for describing this element, like a sentence: I have to try everything. If we have a look on the pentagram, we always, in Chinese medicine, we start from the green one, from the wood element. And if we take into consideration the psychosomatic part of the Chinese medicine, we also can say that the life begins here when the child is born, is very young child, and goes through the fire, earth, metal, and the life finishes here in the water element. So I will use this scheme. So I have had an idea to came with the topic of these spiritual levels of growth and development using this pentagram, and we will go through all of these elements, and I will try to use my language and my concept of how I, or how me, is watching the potential or possible spiritual growth and development of human being on this world, on this planet. Those of you who are not familiar with these shortcuts, is this green color. LR is like liver, HTR is heart, SP is spleen, LU is lungs, and KI is kidney. So they are like yin organs from the point of view of Chinese medicine. So here we are on the beginning of the circle, the green color and liver, and the wood element. So the wood element is connected to the spring, when everything is growing and blooming, and the new life is beginning. And from the point of organs or meridian system, it is connected to the liver, and then we have another organs is like gallbladder. But now we will take this presentation more from the psychosomatics or the spiritual growth and development, and less from the side of Chinese medicine theory or organ theory. And the power of this period of time is wind. This yang, this wood element is under the government, we can say, of yang, yin and yang. As you know, maybe these two principles, and it's because also it's spring and sun is coming to the earth again in a higher intensity. Everything is growing, like yang is growing up, or has a tendency to go up. And as I already told before, this is connected with birth and growth, childhood, and maybe we can say also some part of youth. So in this slide, on this picture, we can see that we will need, or I chose some words how to describe this period or stage of spiritual development. We will need a gardener, cultivator, a teacher. What does it mean? It means that when we speak about childhood or beginning of new life, we need some very good and skillful gardener. That means some teacher and cultivator, and usually this role is played by our parents. So if the child doesn't have a good gardener, it can influence all his life, we can say. Because at the beginning the child needs to have some basic rules, at least to know some rules, what he can do or what he should not do, he or she. So the parents are taking the role of the cultivator or a good teacher and should explain the kids which situation or under which situation this is possible and something is not possible, what is good and what is bad, to give him some kind of recognition of these two sides, yin and yang, good and bad, and give him some basic rules. This you can do, this you cannot do. You should first write your homework and then you can go out to play with your friends. Or every night or every evening before you go to the bed to sleep, you should brush your teeth, and so on and so on. So because when there is missing the role of the gardener or cultivator, the child has the tendency, where there are no rules, to miss some regimes or some kind of order, maybe we can say, and then it can influence the part of his life later. So his life can become more chaotic, or he will trying to find this so-called order somewhere with his friends, mates, some groups, and when there are completely no rules, he will try to do or try to allow to do more and more dangerous or more inappropriate things, maybe, and those things can be harmful for him or for the others as well. So for example, he can start to search for some kind of rules by taking some drugs, or to spend his free time by smoking and or gambling or doing some bad things, because he will miss something which gives him some order. And on the other hand, at the same time, when the child has very strict gardener who gives him strict rules, this you cannot do, that you cannot do, you only you should do according my idea, or if I will not tell you, you cannot do that, you cannot do this, and their rules are very strict. These kids will become like his garden or the tree. He will be very growing on a very small area, very small place, very small garden, and it will influence his life as well in a negative sense. So maybe he will not so confident, full of some kind of, we can say, not confidence, or maybe a bit anger, which is connected to liver, and so on. So we need some kind of sizers, or instrument to cultivate the growing tree, and the cultivator is a good parent. And I chose the theory, like the main sentence for this period. It doesn't mean that the spring or the wood element is bad, not at all. I just choose it as a starting point on the lifespan, and everyone can experience these 5 elements either in one life, which is quite demanding, or by coming here to this planet, to the Earth, more and more times, and try to experience all of these, which is given by those elements. So the starting point, as I said at the beginning, and that's why the spirit or the soul is searching for some to have some rich experience. So the soul is hungry for everything new, which is everything new, which the soul hasn't experienced before. And sometimes it can also be some immature thoughts, ideas, which corresponds to his lifestyle, like living fully. I want to live fully. I call this stage of spiritual development as the body should be buried damaged. We have one sentence in Czech language, and we say something like this, that if the body is not damaged in the grave, it means that I haven't experienced everything, only some part of this world. But it's, of course, it's negative. It's quite negative meaning, but there are quite plenty of people who say the body should be buried damaged, and they try to enjoy the life fully. But this fully means mostly in a negative connotation, or a not appropriate meaning. So there is something like plenty of experience also from the bad meaning. Yeah. But sometimes this kind of bad experience, they are also a kind of experience on the way of the human being or of the soul on the earth, on the planet. But the ideal way is to shorten the time of those experiences to a minimum, or a minimum time, yeah, only. Because if the soul is like to squeezed or present in this period only for a long time, the bad experience has also some karmic connotations, yeah, which is not good, very too much, because the soul can injure or damage not only itself, the body, and more than body, but also to be harmful to other people. But on the other side, when the soul or the human being here will experience something which is not good, and he will recognize which is good and which is not good for him and for others, then he can make a decision and to learn a new lesson and say, okay, this one I already tried, I don't want it anymore, and skip it. This is good. This is the good result to learn a good lesson from the experience he had. And sometimes the people who experience something which is very bad, or which is not happy, maybe it can influence them in a positive way, that they will say, I will never do this, and they will skip very, how to say, big big time or big distance on their spiritual growth and development, and they will go forward very strongly in a positive way or positive meaning. Okay, so we can move on maybe. We have element of fire or mover of fire, where I choose or I have chosen the sentence which is describing this element from my point of view. I have to be the best one. I have to be the best. We can see a Chinese character for fire, and when we take the wood and the wood is going through the fire, yeah, so or it become a like activator of the fire of the next element. So here on the picture we can see from the theory of 5 elements that the fire Hua is at the very top position of the pentagram, and it's usually because of the fire has a tendency to go like up when it's burning, yeah, to go up like when it's burning, and it is connected to a heart. So the fire is strongly yang principle, is quite close to the Tao, which is because of its position of the top of the pentagram, and is joined or connected to the summer, which is quite logical, heart and heat. And the heart is, yeah, we can see usually heart connected with red color, with blood, with some maybe also some vessels in the body. I mean the system of veins, the vein system. Yeah, and it's a kind of nutrition and so on and so on. And the period of this fire, I'm using the word maturing and reaching the peak, also according to the theory of the 5 elements. So the young person is maturing, it has like his own ideas, and there are many tendencies which describes this period of time. So either is maturing, like the young people have many dreams to become the best, to save the world. When they speak to their parents, often we can hear from their mouths like, "I'm the right one, I have the right, and you are the bad one," and so on and so on. And there is quite a huge space for competition with others, because there is a fire element which is very, in some way, it is very aggressive, and that's why we need good quality firewood to get the best from the young power we can use. If there is not quality firewood, or the quality is missing here and is some basic plain firewood, the person can use this young energy for things, or can spend energy and time for the things which are not useful too much, and he will maybe spend this time for useless things, which is quite pity. So if we have good quality firewood, that means our priorities, our like things which we are very precious for us, in a right sense or other. So we can spend this energy to build, we can spend the yang energy to build and make many good things. And we need some regulator to know when we should slow down and not only to go on, because the yang has tendency only continue, go on, to hurry, to be the best one. So also in Czech we have one sentence which after translation to English can be said like something like, I will be resting peacefully in the grave. That means that I will not stop until I will lie in the grave, in my grave. Until I will die, I will be continuously working, doing something, restlessly and go and so on, which is also not very good, because in the theory of Chinese medicine we have yang and yin. So we have action and we have a state of peacefulness or some kind of calmness, which this fire has. That's why this fire has some regulator. So there are strong belief on oneself, many visions and ideas for the future, which is good, and working on one's dreams. So the young people has tendency to become some, I don't know, they like some kind of job they want to become, some or they have some maybe images or famous persons or some movie stars, or I don't know, and who can be a good example for them, and they try to spend the energy to reach the qualities of those people or famous people, and so on. Tendencies to save the world, and the career, building career is quite a lot connected with its fire element, as well as trying to get success and fame. And also it's a period of gaining ritual experience. So here in this stage we need to study how or when we should slow down, and how we should use this rich, strong yang energy into which correct things. Then there is element of earth. There is character for earth and also the picture. So when the wood is fired up or is spent, so the rest is some kind of ash remains, and it can be like under the element of earth. And I use the name for this element as or a topic for this element, I should nest, or I should anchor or settle down. So when we are speaking about the earth element or mover, we are in the middle of these 5 elements, and we will have another picture which was used in ancient China, and where the earth element was in the middle of the pentagram. Hu means earth and is joined or connected with spleen and stomach, so it means it's connected to digestion. The earth element is connected to Indian summer and spleen, yeah, from the point of the organs, and dampness, because spleen hates or doesn't like dampness. So we should take care of what we are eating, about the nutrition, proper nutrition. And because we are in the middle of those elements, so now the wood and fire, they were yang elements, and the spleen is the middle of those elements, so it's a process of harmonization, yin and yang together, or yin and yang in a good harmony. The topic or the keywords are anchoring, harmonization, happy medium, and a supportive environment. What or who will need in this spiritual period is a suitable counterpart, and by the word counterpart I mean like a mate, soulmate, which is usually the opposite sex person. So yang needs yin and yin needs yang. Male needs female, female needs male to understand each other better and to harmonize some principles which were not so far harmonized until now. The theory which I have chosen for this topic is it is time to have a stable job and family, because the spleen or the earth element is a lot about harmonization, about stability or stabilization and anchoring. Yeah. So the person who needs to create a stable environment, so after building a career or having some brave ideas and dreams and wanted to make a lot of money and so on and so on, the person his interest starts to be more about having some place where he feels relaxed, where is harmonic environment, which the environment gives him some support for his job, work, and the new members who are coming to his life and to this environment. Yeah, maybe. So there are some strong principles of a family and its importance, and deeper and mutual understanding of the principle of yin and yang, female and male. So in this slide, or on this slide, we can see on the left side, I will show you here by this cursor. On the left side is something in this form, or on the meaning was the original Chinese version of pentagram, when the spleen and the earth element was situated in the middle of the other or rest elements here. So that means that spleen influences all the other elements. That's why also the family can be present during all of the spiritual stages of a human being's life. So with the wood element, when there are sometimes crazy ideas and dangerous experience, which also can have negative impacts on the family, but the family still can exist here in this period. When there is like strong dreams or like plenty of vision, ideas, career, money, and so on. Also, the family can work to some degree. Then we will have another length and so-called autumn or metal element, which will be more about self-education. Sometimes the family can be a burden of this spiritual period or period of life, sometimes, or few years of some decades, or it depends on the individual human being. When the people has a tendency to educate himself and get plenty of new knowledge, and this water element, which is like self-mastery, and usually in a Asian tradition, this water element requires to give up the family. Also maybe some Buddhist teaching or yoga teaching. But sometimes it depends maybe on some Taoist way, or mainly on the Western philosophy or Western style of life, where's the tendency to keep the family maybe mostly during of all these stages. And that on the right side is like the pentagram of Chinese medicine we use these days, like in modern teaching of Chinese medicine. Here we are on the metal part, where I have chosen the name of I should polish what I have acquired. So I already learned some knowledge, but now in this period of metal, I should polish it or deepen it, this knowledge. As we can see, there is a Chinese character Jin for a metal, and when in the earth, there can be found some precious stones or minerals and whatever. So that's why this is following after the spleen or earth mover or element. And we are moving slowly, finally to the end. So on the metal. And in this period, the metal is connected to autumn or fall. It depends in British or American English. And with the lungs or lung system, and the power of this period is dryness. So the lungs usually hate dryness. And on autumn, on fall, there are usually some respiratory problems and so on and so on. And this is characterized by the yin principle. And according to Chinese medicine, that's a period of time when the human being is aging and getting old. And usually there are some kind of, as we can see with some persons or during the autumn or falls, some kind of depression states, that the life is ending and everything is there is no sun, or something is missing to the human beings. And some of the people they can be influenced negatively by this period. But from my point of view of this spiritual growth and development, I'm taking it like a spiritual progress. So we are still, as you can see, stage after stage, we are going up and upper and upper, or higher and higher. So there is also the stage of ripening, some fruits and experience or pieces of experience and so on. So in the metal scene, we need a good teacher and a good book, for example. And the theory of this element, I have chosen the sentence money as a metal, is not everything. So the person is starting to realize that, for example, as it was during the fire stage, the money was so important that the person is able to spend or do almost everything for getting money. It doesn't mean the money is not needed in this world. The money is still needed for getting some food, clothes, education, traveling, and some other activities or basic things we need. but is not everything. So the person is starting to think more about his principles, about his priorities, about the meaning of the life, about the topics like who I am, which will be the maybe more or deepen during the water period or water element. And he has a kind of desire for self-education and spiritual growth. So during the fire element, there was maybe more desire. Also, there was desire for self-education, traveling, knowing the world, and so on and so on. But the yang was quite active and quite rapid or strong or fast. And the person during the strong young fire period element try to do that for maybe to be better than the others, to be the best one. But during the Jin metal period, this person spiritually try to grow and develop himself, and there is still can be some kind of bit of competition maybe, but it's not so strong. And the more the soul is going through this period from the through the metal period, the less kind of competitive moods he or she has. Yeah? So at the beginning, maybe he has a tendency to get a lot of certificates from various courses, seminars, to travel and explore. But later he can realize that this I don't know, like diploma papers and everything, or some certificates are not so important, and the more important is the knowledge itself. So he needs a good and quality book on various topics which he likes: medicine, history, nutrition. Usually these books are the books which are bringing some benefits and some knowledge, not only some novels, but some topics which can enrich your life. And also the typical for the metal period is like forging, and that means deepening and refining what has already been acquired. So what the soul or the human being already got into his knowledge, he tries now to refine, to go deeper, and to understand from another angles or another point of view. There are some traditions in the world, like yoga, maybe some martial arts tradition, that they go regularly to the basics every year or every some period of time, to deepen the basics, and they are starting from the beginning, basics, stance, basics, postures, and so on and so on, to realize that the stuff which has been learned doesn't mean that the person you can grasp for 100% or can understand for 100%, but still there are more and more layers which are deeper and deeper understanding, which we haven't seen and we couldn't see at the beginning when we have learned something new, because at the beginning when there is a new stuff to study, we just want to grasp it into some degree, and then maybe we are satisfied with that, but we usually don't see it from different angles, or we cannot see the deeper layers of it. The typical case is a Chinese medicine, or whatever you do, martial arts, yoga, whatever you do, very deep level, there you always go deeper and deeper. So that can be the forging the metal period. And learning also, you can still learn some new things which you was not interested about before, for example. Now we are going to the water element. Nice character, shui, it means water, and here we are at the topic which is called the art of being yourself. The art of being yourself. So, from the point of the pentagram, we started with wood, went to the fire, earth, metal, and now we should be on the final stage when we like to make a picture of a circle here. And the water element, the water is connected to winter, to kidney system, and with some coldness or cold. So it is yin principle. And during the winter, we usually spend more time inside than outside. Then we should like a yin, which is inside, and yang is outside. So during the yang periods, we are trying to go outside to travel, to enjoy the nature, or go to visit the seaside and whatever during the summer and fire period. And during the opposite period, which is the winter, we have tendency to spend more time inside, and also we should do some more inner kind of maybe meditative practice or exercises, or just to have some period of time to relax or to think of some another or future steps in a positive way, and so on. So this period is connected to old age, wisdom, according many nations, not only Chinese, but many nations, cultures, Asian cultures, has or treasured wisdom so much that the oldest person maybe was like kind of person who give you some good advice into your life or into your work, whatever you do. And the wisdom, sometimes you can see on the statue of Buddha, for example, the Buddha has long or big ears, which from the point of, for example, this tradition represents wisdom. It's a kind of something like final assessment or evaluation of all the spiritual periods and all the experience you gathered and you enjoyed, and the death is coming soon from this period of time. So in this final stage of the 5 elements theory, we should master ourselves. So we should truly know ourselves, to truly know yourself. Needed to truly know yourself. The theory is the most important thing is to understand correctly, which I mean to understand correctly all the principles, meanings of the words, or all the understand the experience or the conclusion of the experience you had before in the past, and do some evaluation leading to self-mastering. So we are gaining wisdom, which is based on all previous pieces of experience. So from wood to fire, through the earth and metal, and realizing that the deepest wisdom cannot be found in any books. So in the metal period, we have a tendency to read a lot of books and visit a lot of seminars, go to many retreats. But now in this period, we having a tendency or have no need to read any more books, maybe except some exception. But the most important thing is to cultivate insight and self-knowledge. So, and during this period, or using various traditions and cultivation methods from the past times, sometimes a lot of these traditions tended to offer so-called direct entry into this water element or water mover. For example, some methods of cultivation of life and Tao, or Zen schools, Shaolin tradition, Buddhist schools, original concept of some yoga traditions, and perhaps into some degree maybe some Christian traditions. So to bring you directly, or to try to like skip these stages of like stabilization, career, trying what as much as you can to get some experience, and reading a lot of books and so on, and directly to lead you by some methods, using some methods to lead you directly to this water element. And in such teachings, the emphasis was placed on, or is placed on, daily practice, and the tradition is usually passed on orally. So that's why you don't need any books mostly. So directly from the teacher to you as an aspirant, or later as an adept. And if any written material is present, it is usually limited only to one or maybe some few precious or variable texts or books that are usually also written in some coded language. That means that the language can understand only the person who is spiritually developed into some degree, or the text tells a little bit different meaning to the reader according to his spiritual development, also we can say. And alternatively, later, or in some traditions, the work on yourself, or oneself, is already later fully in your hands, yeah, of the adept. So you are working and continue the tradition by the daily training, daily practice, by yourself then, which depends on the tradition. So when we are going to make some conclusion, this is only my point of view, which I'm not telling is the only possible way how to look on the spiritual growth or development of human being. But I divided this topic into two ways, and the first way is the way of the 5 elements, or the 5 movers, Wu Xing, which you are going through all the 5 stages either in one life, which is not so probable, but mostly this way is subject to karmic laws and the laws of reincarnation when you are coming here again to get those stages and enjoy the experience from various stages. Usually you should go grow up, but sometimes also you maybe can fall down or get back to the previous elements, some maybe. And this way, I have chosen the name the way of the adept, or master with small m, or the way of the sage, when the aim is to get some liberation by spiritual growing and developing yourself, and some teaching call it maybe nirvana, or maybe some other teaching has different names, maybe in Taoist practice also immortality, and so on and so on. And the second way, I have chosen the name of the way of Christ, or we can say the way of the Supreme Master, the way of Lord, the way of God. And this way requires complete surrender to Jesus Christ and consecration of one's life to Him. So from my point of view, Christ is able to break you free from the cycle of samsara, which is the sequence of rebirth. And Jesus Christ is placed above the entire system of the 5 elements or movers, and the spiritual growth and the development rules according to the laws of this system. But it doesn't mean that this is some easy way as well, because the complete surrender is also very difficult. By making some conclusion to these 2 different ways, we can say that the way of the adept or master sage used to be apparently maybe the only legitimate way in the past times, and we can still find some adepts or aspirants who are practicing this way until nowadays. And the tradition or this tradition or the tradition of this way has been largely commercialized over time and is declining in its original form, although there are many attempts to revive it these days. This way can also hide some occasional traps and certain degree of danger, and it's quite time-consuming way full of rich experience. This way requires strong self-discipline, especially as you go and climb up on the spiritual leader or spiritual development, yeah, climbing up. So the higher you are, maybe the stronger self-discipline you should have or is required. And the second way, which can be used for your spiritual growth or development, is the way of the Supreme Master, Lord and God, and is newly, as I say newly only, available since the advent, from the Latin word adventus, of Jesus Christ to this planet, to the earth. And I think it is very likely that this way will gain a great popularity with people during the next few years and maybe decades, and will spread to the extent that it will be maybe the main spiritual way for many of them or many people. However, I mean in its purified form, and the purified means that this way was how to say, there are tendencies to look down often on Christianity because of some historical events which happened in the course of the human history, and maybe some institution and organization and so on and so on. But it will likely be a very safe and reliable way, because what I mean dangers on the adept way or aspirant master stage way means that sometimes if you go upper and go higher the spiritual level, also there are some maybe attempts to let you down, or you can get some magic skills, but you can be addicted to some using these magic skills and so on and so on. And this way of Master, Lord and God in such sense should be safe and reliable, but still we cannot say you will do nothing and you will get to the end of or to the final stage of the spiritual development only by thinking that you will so-called believe in God or something like that, because it is also not a possibly easy way, because a complete submission is required here. So these were in 1 hour presentation these were my thoughts, ideas. You can look at this topic from many different points of view. This was kind of only basic thinking and basic ideas of me. For those who can speak Czech, you can search for this book by my name, Zdeněk Chmelka, Jeho Východní Asie, můj šálek čaje, which is a book about China, my 5-year stay in China. So there are some information about Chinese culture, philosophy, religion, food, mentality, some habits, traditions. There are some pictures, some photos inside the book, and some my stories. Also some quite funny one. And then you can follow this YouTube channel. Most of the videos are in Czech language, some are in English, and some videos doesn't require any language. So it depends on you. This book is available on Cosmas or on Paragon e-shops. That will be from my side all, and thank you for your time, for your attention, and wish you good luck on your own spiritual way. Be yourself. Thank you.